Hello everyone. So in the previous topic we discussed about what is system design, what are functional and non-functional requirements, and why do we refer it to as a high level design, right? In case you have missed out the video, you can check it out and go through those concepts. And this concept, we'll be starting with system design concepts like scalability, horizontal scaling, vertical scaling, replication, sharding, and etc. Okay, and we'll be starting with the first and the foremost important topic, that is scalability, right? So, what is before jumping into what is scalability, I'll give you a brief scenario so that it becomes much more clear. Okay, so let's imagine a situation you are developing a product, or let's say, website itself, right? In the preliminary phase, you received, let's say, you are receiving only 10 to 15 requests on a daily basis, right? Your own laptop is able to handle that many amount of requests, and you are able to function. Let's say it is your own business, so you're able to function your business properly, right? Now, since let's say your business started getting popular, the amount of users started coming more, right? And you started receiving more number of such requests. So now what you have to do currently, let's say up to 50 requests, let's say your laptop is able to handle, right? So but it started increasing those number of requests exponentially, right? It started going from 50 to 100, 100 to 200, 200 to 400, right? So there was an exponential increase in the request. Now your hardware, your resources which you have in your laptop, right, like your memory, your CPU, etc., it is limited, right? Now the load started, you started getting a lot of load, right? You're running out of RAM, you're running out of your hard disk, you don't have enough spaces to store the data, right, of different customers, right? So in that case, what are you gonna do, right? Since like, let's say, as of now, as a developer, you know that it can only go up to, let's say, 600 requests. So you planned on increasing your RAM, upgrading your CPU, upgrading your hard disks, right? You did that, you were able to achieve that, right? So this upgradation that you did, right, in order to handle the load, this is what is called as scalability. Okay, in case if the load increases, what are you trying to do? You are trying to scale your system. Scaling means you are trying to manage those number of requests which are coming to you on a daily basis, right? So either you are either you are adding the hardware, right, hardware resources, that is either upgrading your CPU, upgrading your RAM, upgrading your hard disks, you're doing all sorts of things, right? Or you can choose another approach. Let's say I have one system, I will add one more system which will have same amount of code and business logic and everything in it, right? So two such machines or two such servers, you can say, right? So I have two such servers which can cater to the needs of, let's say, 600 requests, right? So this is one way of also achieving order of the your scalability, right? So scaling things is basically, in your current position you have limited resources and you want to add up resources. Either you can increase your hardware of your same instance, or you can have more such instances, right, to deal with those incoming requests or the workload or the on the system, right? So this is what we are referring to as scalability. I hope this was clear. Now, the scalability can be of two types. Okay, there are number of there are two ways to achieve this scalability. First is horizontal scaling. The second is your vertical scaling. Okay, now this first situation which I discussed, right, increasing your CPU, your RAM, your hard disk space, right, all those things, if we are doing it right, uh, it is very expensive when it comes to hardware, when you're increasing your system hardware, right? Those are expensive. It is not cost effective stuff, right? So, and there is up to a limit up to which you can scale things, right? Let's say maybe up to certain gigs you can scale up your uh, machine, right? So it is vertical scaling is kind of limit, right? So what is vertical scaling? Vertical scaling in simple terms is to you're adding more resources to your existing machine in order to manage your workload. Okay, now what are those resources? Those resources are increasing your memory, upgrading your CPU, or increasing your hard disks, and etc. Right? Now, when do you want to use scalability as your, vertical scaling? Since I told you there are two types of scaling, right? One is the vertical scaling, the other is your horizontal scaling, right? So in the picture also you can see it is 8 GB RAM for processors. You are scaling up to 512 GB RAM and 64 processors, right? We are using a bigger VM. So this is your, and it is on the same instance, right? It is the same machine that you're upgrading it, right? So this is what you call it as your vertical scaling. Okay. Now, when would you go for vertical scaling? The only time you want to choose vertical scaling for your scalability in order to handle, the request or the workload which you're getting, right? Is when you know as a developer that for this particular business requirement, there will be only 15 such requests on a daily basis. There is a quantified specified number and which is very small. Okay, it is not too big. Okay, so in that case you go for vertical scaling. Okay, so as a developer, when you should choose vertical scaling, when you know there is a limited amount of users, there is a limited amount of requests or the load that we are going to get. Okay, and it is pretty small. Okay, now what is the disadvantage to it? Of course it is expensive because we are increasing our hardware resources. The other thing is that, let's say I had, let's say, two such machines well, let's say I had this one machine itself, right? Now I started getting requests from, let's say, all over the globe. Then in that case, will this one machine will be enough even if I go on to increase the hardware resources? Of course it won't be, right? So in that case, it becomes vertical scaling totally becomes useless, right? If there is a humongous load, humongous amount of request on a daily basis, if we are going to get, right? And it is unpredictable. So in that case, vertical scaling fails uh, severely. Okay, very badly it fails, right? So the only advantage we have in vertical scaling is that, yes, of course, it has fast response time, as there are not too many machines. I'll come to the advantage part later because I will first have to explain horizontal scaling, because it is a kind of a trade-off. What is disadvantage, um, in what is a disadvantage in vertical scaling? There are advantages in horizontal scaling. So I hope you were clear with what is vertical scaling and when you should be using it. And with respect to advantages and disadvantages, I'll discuss it once I cover vertical or horizontal scaling as well. Okay. So thank you so much. Bye.